Hi, this is Lorraine with Chat and Craft with Lorraine Tierney, and I want to show you a little bit of, share with you a little bit of information about stamp sets today. These are two new stamp sets. One is a cling stamp set, and one is a photopolymer stamp set. The cling stamp sets are red rubber, like this, and they come still a little bit attached, and you gently take them out, and they have a protective sheet on the back. This whole piece has a protective sheet on the back. I like to take that sheet off. You can throw that away, because now this is what they call cling a little bit. This will stick, just like static electricity, stick to your case. It won't fall out. And then if you go to put this away and you see that, you know you haven't put a stamp back, and you can find it before it gets thrown out or lost or whatever. So these stamps, let's see, I'm going to take this one. You gently take it out. I'm going to take the back off of it. I don't have nails. And then you would put this stamp on a clear acrylic block to use it to stamp. But you can't see right now the way this comes, what you're stamping. It does come with labels. Years ago, Stampin' Up! Stamps that came with labels, they didn't stick to the block very well. Well, they've improved those, and now these stick to the block really, really well. A little bit too well, I think, and they can be hard to take off. So I'm going to show you how I put these stickers on the stamp and what I do so they won't be too sticky. So I'm going to peel it completely off the backing. So this is the part, this is very, very sticky. This is part of what we're going to see. And then we're also going to peel that off. But first we're peeling the whole thing off. I'm going to put it on my sweatshirt, just rub it on there once to take a little bit of the stickiness off. I find it's too sticky, and I have a hard time getting it off the block if I don't do that. And then I'm just going to peel back a little bit of that label before I put it on my block. Now these are removable from the block, don't worry. These blocks you use over and over. So I take off that other piece of the protective backing, and I'm gonna, this is the stamp and this is the label. I'm gonna turn my stamp over like I'm stamping with it. And now I'm gonna turn my block over, and I'm gonna line it up and push it down onto that, and the label's gonna go on it. The problem is trying to do this on camera and not getting my head in the camera, but I'm putting it on and I'm making sure that the edges look like they're lining up, and then I'm just going to press it on. Okay, and I'm going to gently lift it up from the corner. If it's not coming up when you do that, you don't want to pull the red rubber off. You need to get a little pointy thing or something that you can stick under there to help you get it off. But if you remember to pat it onto your sleeve or your jeans before you do it, then it won't be too sticky. So when you want to use it, you put it on the block and you stamp with it. When you're done, you take it off and you put it back in the case. Okay. The other type of stamps are photopolymer. These stamps you can see through. So as you see, they don't come with labels. You don't need a label because you can see what you're doing. They have a protective sheet, and I keep that sheet on. I just take off whatever stamp I'm going to use, You can see these are a little bit tinged a different color. That's because I've used them. That staining does not affect how they work. And you put that on the same type of block, and then you stamp with it. So I'm going to show you how I stamp with each of these. This is just a piece of plain, very vanilla cardstock, and this is one of our ink pads. To open the ink pad, there's an end that has a little, I guess, a thumb hole there. I'm going to hold the ink pad with one hand, my left hand, and I'm going to lift up right there and go all the way to the back and then push it towards me. To close it, I pull it out and I go back. I'll show you again. Lift it up and push. There are times I've done some weird things and I've got the lid has come right off. My stamp set ends up in two pieces. Believe it or not, you can do a search on YouTube about Stampin' Up! Ink pads, how to put it back together, and you'll find a video. So now I'm going to show you how I ink up these stamps. The temptation is to take your stamp and to push it into the ink pad. These ink pads are pretty juicy. I suggest you turn your block over with the stamp facing up and take your ink pad and just gently tap on it. Now you can see I don't have very good coverage yet, so I'm just going to keep tapping some more. Okay, and this is what they call a distinctive stamp. It's got a lot of texture and different layers in it, so it's not going to get a solid coverage. And then I'm going to put it on my piece of cardstock straight down, and I'm going to hold it there for a couple of seconds, let that ink transfer, and then I'm going to come straight up. And you can see that that stamp automatically did that shading. Here's a little trick. You can often stamp a second time without putting more ink on your stamp and get a lighter shade. We call this lighter color stamping off. So you can get two shades of ink with one ink. That's a good trick to remember. If you, let's see, let me get, so now to clean, well, let me close my ink pad before I really get it all over me. To clean this stamp, I use something called a Simply Chamois. It's a soft cloth, I guess. It's not really cloth. I don't know what it's made out of. And you just wet it with water and clean your stamp. You can see this one is well loved. It did look like this at one point, but I just take it. I keep it in a stamp case. And you just rub it in here, and the ink rubs off of it. Like I said, these do stain a little bit, but that will not affect their performance. If I want to make sure all the ink is off, I can just stamp it on my scrap paper, and you'll see it's clean. That was a little bit of water. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off of here, and it just lifts right up. I'm going to open my stamp case and lift up this piece of plastic and put it back on its picture, the corresponding picture. Now I'm going to use this bigger stamp that we put the label on. Now if I were going to stamp this on the inside of a card, say inside one of these, I would usually put a piece of paper inside, and I would stamp that piece of paper before I put it in the card, because if I make a mistake, I can flip it over or I can get another piece. If it's taped down in here, I can't take it up and flip it over so easily. Or if I stamp right onto this and I make a mistake, I've kind of messed up my whole card. So, and again, I'm going to ink it up this way. If you want to try inking it this way, my suggestion is you think about it like you're kissing a baby's cheek. You wouldn't take your face and mash it into a baby's cheek. You would give it a gentle kiss. So you would gently kiss the stamp pad. I'm not pushing, because if I do, I'll push all the ink away from my stamp, not onto my stamp. I'm just lightly tapping. You can see now there's no spaces without ink. And now I'm using my grid paper to make sure my piece of paper is straight. I'm, lining it up with a dotted line. And I'm going to put my stamp down. And I'm going to push gently for a couple of seconds. I do have a little squishy foam sheet under here. It's good to have a little give on what you're stamping. And there you are. That is stamped. And now I can clean it off the same way. Rubbing it on my chamois. I can turn my chamois over. If this dries out or gets really inky, I just run it under the water in the sink, warm water, wring it out. Some of the ink will wash away and it's good to go again. So again, I've turned this stamp around this time, but I'm pulling it from the end that has that finger hold and then closing it. I can take my stamp off the block and I can put it back in the stamp case and close that up. I can close this up. So those are the two types of stamps, the cling stamp and how you put the stickers on them, and then the photopolymer ones that you can see through and how I clean them. I hope this was a helpful video. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions. Thank you. Go make a card.